in additional 8.4 additional security of data. By the way, is anyone recording? Guys, is anyone recording?
Dado, are you recording?
I am. Okay, good. Thank you. Authentication. All right, what is authentication? I've talked about this before. This is not a new topic. Okay, it just talks about it in greater detail in this section. But we all know that when you enter your username and password, your email and password, if you consider Facebook, your username and password, if you consider Snapchat, the process of entering your username and password is called authentication. Okay, so it's the process of determining whether someone is or something is in fact who or what it declares itself to be. Am I actually Chira? How do I know if I'm Chira? I'll enter my username and password, because what we assume is that only Chira is supposed to know the username and password of that specific website. So we do have other forms of authentication, and we all know most of them. Like practically we've used it, or we've seen it in real life. First of all, the passwords, the username and password, we all have used it. Biometrics. Biometrics include, you know, the fingerprints and iris scanner and stuff like that, face recognition. And then digital certificate. Digital certificate might be the only new thing that you will see, but they're fairly easy. It's not a big deal. So a website or a system might not necessarily use password. It might use biometrics or digital certificates or more than one authentication method, which is to increase the security. Okay. Now, passwords. Make sure you use strong passwords. And okay, why do we see passwords this way? Why is it very important for passwords most of the times to appear this way? I mean, the website itself, the server will be able to read it anyways. It is encrypted anyways. It's only the appearance, only the visibility of, with the end user, it appears something like these stars. Why?
Miss, what is your question again?
That's my question. Why do you always see your password this way? That's my question.
So if there are people nearby, they can't see what your password is.
Exactly. That's the only point. Okay, and a very important point. Okay, so that if somebody is sitting right next to you, they wouldn't be able to see what your password, what you have entered. And of course, most of the times you're pretty fast in entering your password, so they won't be able to figure out by looking at your keyboard. So it is very, very important, by the way. Okay, so I think I should write that down so that nearby people wouldn't be able to see your password. So we do our best to, you know, maximize our security. Okay. Most of the times regarding passwords, By the way, the book talks about digital certificates and then passwords. I just wanted to talk about passwords first because it's the easiest. Okay. Sometimes you have double data entry for passwords. Please re-enter your password and stuff like that. This is what we call verification, and it's important for you to know because we have validation. Oops, sorry. We have validation, we have verification. We studied this last chapter, right? Validation is when you have type check, rank check, stuff like that. And it happens during data entry. Verification happens after data entry. And we have two major forms of verification. The first one is double data entry. The second one is visual check. Anyways. And in order to maximize security, again, if you enter your password more than incorrectly, more than 5 times, for example, it will block the user from entering further passwords. Why is that so? Because you can write an algorithm to generate all possible combinations of a password. And just wait for like 1 day or 2 days. Let it just, enter all different possibilities. And yeah, wait for 1 or 2 days and you will know the password. You'll get it. So in order to avoid such attacks, the number of input errors are limited. And then, of course, you should change your password on a regular basis. Most websites use user ID along with the password for additional security. That's what we talked about. Also, another major precaution for passwords is this. Do not use the same password for different websites, which I'm sure many of us don't do that, but it's really bad and insecure if you use the same password for more than one website or one service. Okay. Any questions regarding passwords? No. Okay, digital certificates. What is a digital certificate? A digital certificate is a pair of files stored on a user's computer. They include public key, name of the digital certificate owner, email address, phone number, serial number, digital signature of the certificate authority, or CA. So digital certificates, they are a form of authentication. They're just like using a password, okay? They're like electronic fingerprints in the form of a coded message, okay? If somebody sends you an email with a digital certificate, you can look at the digital certificate. Actually, the browser does that and verify whether this digital certificate is legitimate. So you know that this email has come from a legitimate source, not from a hacker. Hackers do not usually want to give their full information, okay? And even if their information is fake, the browser will know, unless the hacker is a pro. Anyways, I'm just gonna write that down. Okay. So we got they are like electronic fingerprints. in the form of a coded message. Okay. This is all you have to, what you have to know. There's not much going on. You don't, I will actually, once school starts, hopefully next week, if it starts, I will show you how to create a digital certificate and send it to, and attach it to your email and then send it to someone else. But that you can also YouTube it if you want. But it's not a big deal. You don't need to know the practical part of it. As long as you know the definition and what they consist of, you'll be fine. Okay? Any questions? No. All right. Biometrics. So, biometrics regard physical attributes of a person. So you use a physical attribute that doesn't change, of course, to identify whether a person is in fact the one who they claim to be. Okay, records that are used to identify people by physical attribute that doesn't change. So the data needs to be universal. That is, it should be something that possesses. This is a very important point. Okay, that's why we don't use hair as a biometric data, because most people might be wearing scarves, might be hijab. So yeah, examples of biometric data include fingerprint, signature recognition, retina scans, iris recognition, face recognition, and then voice recognition. The voice recognition is very rarely. Why is that so? Not very much practical. But why is that? People can get your voice and use it through recording. Exactly. That's very important.
You could go through puberty and change your voice.
Exactly. Your voice might
Like
change
a
through
teenager.
time. Yeah. People can be sick. That is
Yeah,
true.
I was about to say that.
People can be sick. And your voice, so you remember that. You can be mute. Yeah. If you're sick, your voice changes. So one very important point of biometric is this attribute that doesn't change. So we're going to talk about a couple of them. That's what the book talks about, and we're going to talk about it. Fingerprint scans, we all know that. Images of fingerprints are compared to previously scanned fingerprints. If they match, access will be granted, otherwise access will be denied. Pretty straightforward. Advantages of fingerprint. It is more unique than username and password. Cannot be lost or stolen. You can't steal my finger. Cannot be forgotten, and it's hard to duplicate. There are methods to duplicate fingerprints. The security of fingerprint is getting sorry. So the security of fingerprints are getting lower. That's because it's easier to duplicate. So, oops, sorry. Disadvantage: more expensive to install and set up than a username and password. than a simple username and password, yes, of course. And then if a person's finger is damaged, it will be hard for the scanner to read. Self-descriptive. Okay. Retina scans and then iris scans. Retina scans use infrared light to scan the unique pattern of blood vessels in the retina at the back of the eye. So this one is retina and this one is iris. So the retina considers the, let me just get the laser pointer. It considers the blood vessels at the back of the eye. The iris regards the iris of the eye. And the major issue regarding this type of biometric, first of all, is that it's very expensive and very hard to set up. That's two. The third one is very impractical. The person has to stay for at least 10 to 15 seconds while the scan takes place.
Unless they cause damage to the retina.
And they cause damage to the retina. I think I should write that down. It's just nice. So, very expensive and hard to set up. Cause damage to the retina. And then they have to stay for 10 to 15 seconds. It's very impractical. So the security of this is really high. Now you can see in everything in life, not only regarding the security of data or your technology, you have to give away something for the sake of something else. Nothing can be perfect. Okay, who's this guy? Okay. Now, what was I saying? So you must give up something for the sake of something else. You can't have perfect security with very cheap and easy to install and really high security and very practical, very fast. You can't have everything. So you either sacrifice your speed for the sake of security, or sacrifice your money for the sake of security, or sacrifice some of your security for the sake of speed and bandwidth. So this table from your book, comparison of the advantages and disadvantages of the 6 common biometric techniques: fingerprint, signature recognition, retina, iris, face, voice recognition. Just read through it. As long as you have an idea regarding what's going on and you have something to write in the exam, then you'll be fine. Okay? Otherwise, you know what's going on. Just get some ideas, like, in order to be able to answer the questions in the exam. You know what to write in the exam. Okay. Online credit card fraud. This is very common, though. What are the main causes? If you got access to the victim's computer, you're the perpetrator, and you got access to the victim's computer, okay? You can get the credit card details, the security number and the card number and stuff like that. And you do that through either spyware, phishing, farming. We talked about that. Or weak passwords that are easy to break. My security number of my Biblos Bank, my debit card, is so easy. I have to go and tell them to change it. It just doesn't make sense. So make sure that all of the numbers and the passwords and everything is pretty strong. Or no encryption is used when password is entered. Or copying a web address rather than typing. Sometimes the URL is slightly changed in the email you have received, and you end up entering your credentials into a fake website. When you try to open a link from your email or from somewhere else, it's better to type it into your into your browser rather than copying and pasting it. What I usually do personally, nobody wants to, write all that long URL into the browser. What I usually do is that I go to Google and then I Google the website that I want to, go to. And then I get the official version of the website with HTTPS and stuff like that. And I go ahead and write my credentials from there. I don't, especially regarding online payments, don't copy and paste. If you have a wireless network without password, very easy for someone else to, first of all, get connected to your Wi-Fi, and then they will be able to see every single data that you see, that you send or receive through that Wi-Fi. I think I showed you. It's called something. It's called. I have to write this down. Where should I write it down? Okay. It's called Packet Sniffer. Okay. You sniff packets. If somebody is connected to your to the same network that you're connected to, they using a packet sniffer, they will be able to see everything that goes on within that network. Okay, and I do have, it's called Wireshark. The most common one is called Wireshark. You can clearly see the port numbers used. If the emails are being sent, you will see the emails and everything. So make sure you have a strong connection, a strong password for your Wi-Fi, so that only intended users will be able to connect to the Wi-Fi. Voila. I hope it opens. I don't know. To be honest, guys, I really want to show you practical stuff, and I want to show you some videos. It's very impractical here because it lags most of the times if I show you videos and stuff. So, but we'll see. Yes. If mosques are gonna be open, then I do believe that schools will be open too. Yeah. Mosques are more confined with more people in it than schools. So. And another cause of online credit card fraud is this: using internet of a public place. Please be aware when using Wi-Fi of public places, because someone might be monitoring the traffic. All right. Never make online payment using a public Wi-Fi in a cafe or anything. Always make that payment at home. Okay. So these are the causes. Precautions: use strong passwords. Provide credentials only to websites using HTTPS. HTTPS uses what protocol? What protocol does HTTPS use? Any idea of the protocol that HTTPS uses? Okay, SSL or TLS? TSL, not TL, but good job, Ron. Thank you. So it either uses SSL or TLS. All right. Download software from trusted websites. That's when my computer got a virus. I tried to use uTorrent, and I downloaded something that was completely malware. So I never used uTorrent again. And unfortunately, I had to explain how this kind of thing works to my grade 13s. But I think I refused to talk about it, but then they made me talk about it anyway. So be very aware of the websites that you download the softwares from, especially the cracked versions. Don't open emails or attachments from unknown senders. Sometimes when you receive an email from an unknown sender, there are attachments, okay? You open that attachment, exe or bat or anything, even JPEG. You open that and your computer will be lost. Rest in peace, okay? However, at other times, even if you only open the email, your computer screen will go off. The malware will be installed on your computer. So, voila. Yeah? Might be what? No, not necessarily. If you regularly check your email, you know from whom you usually get these emails from. Either from the website subscriptions or social media subscriptions like Facebook or Instagram and stuff like that, or from very known people. But if you don't frequently check your email, you'll say, okay, I got this email, I wonder who this is from. So you're just gonna open it. The moment you open it, you're done. So yeah, the thing is that whenever I get any email that I don't know who it is from, doesn't seem legitimate, I delete it immediately without even opening. Personal experience. And then empty your spam folder. These are the precautions that you can take in order to avoid credit card fraud, in order to avoid viruses as well. Most of these points are pretty common in everything because of regard to security. Any questions regarding online credit card fraud? No. Cloud security. Okay. When you store the data on the internet, okay, it's called computing, cloud computing. Cloud computing includes when you use a server from the cloud, when you store your databases online. We all know that cloud means the internet or online or anything that regards the internet. When you do your networking, when you use the internet itself or for communication, and when you use a software that is not installed on the computer, but use an online software like Google Docs or Google Sheets and stuff like that. These are all examples of software that use the cloud. And if you do anything like this, the action that you're doing is called cloud computing. Okay? And of course, companies provide such services. There are companies who provide a server for you, like Google Drive. Google provides a server. Databases, storage, networking, softwares. And the companies providing these computing services are called cloud providers. Very straightforward. Do you have any questions?
Miss, could you go back to the slide before?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank
The companies that provide these computing services are called cloud providers. Okay. Benefits of doing these things, we all know about that. You know, you can access your data anywhere as long as you can access it on more different kinds of devices. You can stuff like that. Okay. If your device is damaged, your data will not be lost. These kind of benefits, you can go over it. It's on page 160. Not a big deal. Just read it just in order to remember it. Otherwise, you know it. Now, drawbacks of these cloud services. Okay. Drawbacks of cloud services or cloud computing. Okay. So the drawbacks, the book has divided the drawbacks into two major parts. One being data security, one being data loss. Data security, so you're considering the physical security. If you store all of your data on a server, so this server is actually a physical server somewhere in this world, of course. It's not like in the air, all right? So you need to consider what are the physical security precautions that this company has taken. Physical security includes building. Where is the server located? Like which building? Does the building have security? Location. Where is it? Is it in a danger zone or not? Being in a place where flood usually occurs or there's volcanic eruptions and stuff like that. Physical firewalls and cabling. So these all are considered physical security. So physical security includes building, location, physical firewalls, cabling, things like that. Secondly, how resistant is your cloud service provider to natural disasters and power cuts? Natural disasters being flood and volcanic eruptions, stuff like that, and power cuts. If the server, if the server's power is cut, what will this cloud service provider do? I don't remember exactly which company was that, but there was a company which all of its building, complete building, was destroyed in a flood. All right. So what they did was this. They had a full backup version, like another company, a full backup version in another country. So they just continued their activities in the other country, and nothing was stopped. Now, is your service provider resistant like this? Do they have backups? If the Google server is down, what will happen to your data? So things like that. And what safeguards exist regarding the personnel of the cloud service provider? When you say personnel, that means who can access confidential data. So there are administrators of these service providers, of course. The company has administrators for maintenance and monitoring and stuff like that, who can access your data for the sake of monitoring and security and stuff like that. Is it very secure, very limited people, or anyone working for that company can access it? Oops. All right. AsiaCell, there is one person in AsiaCell who has access to all of the data that you send and receive through your AsiaCell phone SIM card. Okay, the messages that you send and receive, the calls that you make, everything is he has access to everything, even Facebook messages that you send and receive, through social media. Okay, as long as you have your SIM card in, they can access it. He can access it, but it's only one person. Because I told my friend, he works for Asia, so can you access any of the phone calls or messages that people make using the SIM card? He said, no, there is one person having access to that. So that means they have really proper security. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay. And then data loss. If the data is lost in the cloud storage, the cloud service provider will not be able to replace it. If it's lost forever, that means if the server is down and the service provider doesn't have any backup servers, that means your data is lost. Done. So in this case, you should consider cloud computing as a backup, or you should consider two different service providers for the same purpose in order for your data to be safe all the time. Okay. Because replacing data happens all the time. Okay, identity theft. What is identity theft? This happens a lot in social media accounts, and if you go higher, it happens a lot with credit card fraud and stuff like that. It simply is you act as if you're someone else. Okay, so you use someone else's identity deliberately without the person knowing about it. Okay, so it is when someone uses another person's personally identifying information like their name, identifying number, or credit card number without their permission, and it's mostly used to commit fraud or other crimes. Okay, under the name of Dustin, I will go and send messages to every single friend that Dustin has, improper messages. Or under the name of Dustin, I will go and use his card and buy a lot of stuff with it. So that's called identity theft. That's why and we talked about this before, that's why keeping your personal information for yourself is important. Make sure you don't give out your personal information. Yes. Yeah. It's done. So we're gonna continue this identity theft next class, but let me take registration before we go.